Is Shedeur Sanders starting to separate himself from everyone at the top of the NFL draft, including a potential Heisman winner in Cam Ward? Let's talk about it after the bumper. Don't take it from me. Let's hear it from the guys who do the draft for ESPN. What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsYjr. YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, especially for all you new folks, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, notification bell because I upload all the time. And I'm trying to do a thing where I drop a video every day, once a day for, let's see how long we can go, at least the entire month of November. How about that? Now, Shedeur Sanders, obviously, he's quarterback for Colorado. He is, Colorado's balling out of control right now. They're 6-2, and they look like they could potentially finish the season with 10 wins. And as we inch closer and closer to NFL draft time, it's time to start evaluating quarterbacks. There's quarterbacks getting benched. Anthony Richardson benched. Bryce Young benched. A lot of teams are going to need quarterbacks. My Las Vegas Raiders. Shedeur, wink, wink, wink. Anyway, the draft guys that work for ESPN, not just me, but the draft guys for ESPN are starting to say that Shedeur Sanders is separating himself from in the field, including Miami's undefeated quarterback Cam Ward. Now, let's take a listen. We're going to I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to listen to the draft guys from ESPN. That includes Mel Kiper, Field Yates, what's his name? Yates? Something Yates, and Mike Greenberg all talk about Shedeur Sanders. And, let me make sure Mike Greenberg, Mel Kiper, and Field Yates. Yeah, his name is Field Yates. Okay. All talk about Shedeur and how he's starting to separate himself from everyone that is coming out in the draft. Now, sped it up a little bit, and I'll be pausing it periodically so that way we don't get copyright strike from ESPN. Fair use. But let's take a listen to these as I give my commentary mixed in as well. Let's take a listen.
Field and why? I think we're starting to see some separation from two players and the rest of the quarterbacks behind him. I think the best quarterback in college football amongst the draft eligible players this year has been Shedeur Sanders. Colorado 6-2, another impressive victory this past weekend. Shedeur Sanders, who, as we know, has the worst offensive line of any of the quarterback prospects that we are discussing. Yes, he has the best wide receiver of any of the quarterbacks.
Now let's pay attention to that because that's key, and I think that's going to help Shedeur in the long run. As bad as Colorado's offensive line has been, and it has cost them, I think it cost them the Nebraska game, even though Nebraska may have just been better at that moment of the season, but it's cost them some games, and it cost Shedeur some time last year, but it also is making him a better prospect. It's not necessarily what you want because it can hurt you in the long run as far as your team and the success of your team. Quarterback gets hurt, or if he can't stay upright because you can't block for him, it can cost your team. But what I will say is, Shedeur has faced adversity that these other guys haven't faced. Quinn Ewers plays for Texas. Outside of the Georgia game, he's upright all the time. He has one of the better offensive lines in the country. Now, Georgia dominated that offensive line, but he has one of the better offensive lines in the country. So he hasn't really faced any adversity. He was in the national championship game last year, and in the playoff last year, and they didn't get any pressure on him. And then same with Cam Ward. Now, Cam Ward's offensive line is solid, but he's in a conference that's okay. It's the ACC. I cover Louisville. It's not that great, but his offensive line's good, and he hasn't faced any adversity. His defense is terrible, so he has to score a lot of points, but his offensive line is better than Shedeur Sanders. And so, therefore, with Shedeur being sacked as many times as he was last year, and then is sacked as many times as he was this year to start the year, that is favorable to NFL scouts because the toughness. It shows toughness to still be able to complete 73% of your passes, 21 touchdowns, while having one of the weaker offensive lines amongst the top quarterbacks in this draft. And the reason why that's valuable is because a lot of times if you're a 1, 2, 3 top 5 pick, you're going to a bad team. And a lot of times teams are bad, not only just because they have bad quarterback play, but then sometimes they have bad offensive line play. Now, for my Raiders, who I think is going to end up with Shedeur, and I'll tell you why in another video. For my Raiders, that's not necessarily the case. They just have bad quarterback play. But a lot of teams have bad offensive lines. And if you've already shown that you have toughness, that you can overcome a bad offensive line and still put up these type of numbers, Third in the nation in touchdown passes, 73% completion percentage to only 6 interceptions. That's pretty good. That's favorable in the eyes of the scouts.
Quarterback prospects that we are discussing, but continues to get the job done. This guy is surgical as a passer when he has time and space. But I'm very impressed with Colorado's 6-2 start this season. They are looking like the team that we thought we saw at the beginning of last year. I think Shedeur Sanders, quarterback 1. I think Cam Ward of Miami, still undefeated, by the way, very much in the race for a playoff spot.
So Shedeur Sanders to fill Yates, quarterback 1. And that's saying something because Cam Ward's got Miami undefeated and is second in the nation in passing yards and second in the nation in passing touchdowns to go along with 3 touchdowns on the ground. And he still has Shedeur number 1 quarterback because of how surgical he's been, because of overcoming the bad offensive line play at times. Now, part of that, Shedeur does hold the ball too long sometimes, but he's been surgical in his delivery, his comeback, his toughness, the way he's been able to win them games, the Baylor game, and different instances and opportunities. So that's saying a lot because this kid may be towards the top of the Heisman list and has a team that's undefeated in the Power 4.
And perhaps the ACC champions as well this year, looks like quarterback 2 to me. Cam Ward has been playing better football this year in Miami than he did at either stop prior in his college career. He continues to be trending up. And then I think we have a case of the other 3 quarterbacks who are either just sort of treading water or maybe going down. In the case of Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers, I think their stock compared to where it was going into the season is down. So, we're talking about Carson Beck.
This is critical to what he's saying too. Him talking about Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers, because one, personally, I've never been a fan of Carson Beck. I just never thought he was that good. I mean, I'm just being honest. I don't know, call it hating or whatever. I just never thought he was that good. And Quinn Ewers, I never thought he was as good as other people thought. I don't think Quinn Ewers is a bad player, but like going into this season, they had Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers above Shedeur, and that made 0 sense to me. I mean, as someone who's watched Shedeur extensively over his 4 years playing college football, covering him at Jackson State, covering him at Colorado, it never made any sense to me to have those 2 guys above Shedeur. Now, Cam Ward, I'm a big fan of Cam Ward. I like his game. I think dude is a stud, but I think Shedeur is even better than Cam Ward. Cam Ward's probably a better athlete. No, probably. He's a better athlete than Shedeur. But the way Shedeur is able to once again overcome the offensive line play at times, and he throws the prettiest ball in this draft. Like his ball just comes out. It looks amazing, and it seems to always be on time and on target pretty much every single throw. Let's continue to listen what the ESPN draft experts have to say.
Beck as potentially the number 1 overall player in the entire class in 2025. I said this to Mel before the show. I'm not sure that as of right now, he's even a first-round pick. Quinn Ewers, same case. Jalen Milroe, a slightly different case only because he didn't come into the season with, hey, this guy is an unimpeachable first-round pick. But after that incredible performance against Georgia, it has not been nearly as dominant from Jalen Milroe or the rest of this Alabama team. He might be a guy that if he decides to declare for the draft this year is also not a first-round pick. I know that quarterbacks are always going to be the position that we've paid more attention to during the pre-draft cycle. And the caliber of the quarterback class in many ways will determine the level of interest in the NFL draft. I'm not convinced that we have a banner year upon us with these quarterbacks. As a matter of fact, I'm starting to become convinced that we don't. It feels like Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward are our 2 biggest beacons of hope, Mel, but I'm not totally certain that either of those guys is viewed as anywhere close to where we had with 3 at minimum quarterbacks last year and maybe 4 for those that liked at least one of J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, or Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't agree with that. like I don't. I'm just being honest. I don't agree that those guys even last year are that much should have been graded that much higher than Shedeur. I'll give you Cam. I'll give you Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. I'll give you that. I'll give you those 2 because I think those 2 were extremely talented coming out of college. But after those 2, I would have taken Michael Penix 3rd. They decided to take Drake May. I think Shedeur is a better player than Drake May. I do. I just do. I think because you can't just give me one wow year and then your other year be all right, and then just me just to decide that you're just all world like they did with Drake May. Drake May had a wow, I think it was redshirt freshman or true sophomore year, and then his junior year was just all right. It was just all right, and it wasn't in like this world beater conference. It's in the ACC. Once again, I covered the Louisville Cardinals. I know what the ACC is, what it is, and what it ain't. And last year, the ACC was ain't. It wasn't that great. My Cards ended up in ACC championship game. And so, therefore, to be like, I like Michael Penix, but Michael Penix had a ton of injuries, and Drake May ain't that great. And then wasn't that great last year. And J.J. McCarthy damn sure wasn't that great. Now, that wasn't a national championship, but Shedeur is a way better prospect to me than JJ McCarthy. So just to act like all these quarterbacks, even in last year's class, would have been better than Shedeur or Cam Ward, to me, that I don't think that's true at all. Like I just totally disagree with that. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's see what Mel Kiper has to say about all of this.
Yeah, somebody, guys, is going to talk themselves into taking a quarterback higher than maybe they're rated. I think certainly higher than they're rated by you and I field. I think Carolina picking 1. You'll get Tennessee picking 2. Will Levis is banged up now with the shoulder, behind that line that has a problem.
And I'm going to do a video about this too. He talks about Carolina, Tennessee. I know the Browns have a high draft pick. I can tell you this. I believe Deion when he says I ain't letting Shedeur or Travis, but specifically Shedeur, just go anywhere. Now, Travis, I don't think he'll be able to do that because he's not a quarterback, and quarterbacks versus positional guys are a little different. I don't think Deion would allow Shedeur to go to Carolina. I don't think he would allow him to go to Cleveland. Tennessee's interesting. Maybe Tennessee, but Carolina and Cleveland, hell no. And honestly, I think they're going to try to get it to where he ends up with the Raiders. That's why I'm happy being a Raiders fan, because of the Tom Brady connection. But I'll talk about that another time.
At that right tackle spot. That's an iffy situation with him. How good can he be the rest of the way to show Callahan that I'm your guy when he had his moments early on, but he had those fatal mistakes in a couple games, but he's only had 13 starts in his career, 14 starts. So Carolina, Tennessee, the Jets, let's see what New Orleans does at 6. Certainly the Vegas Raiders at 7 will go quarterback. You get down to the Giants at 9. So all these teams, Giants try to trade up for Drake May, unsuccessful, ended up with Malik Neighbors. These teams are going to be in a position by late April to talk themselves into 1 or 2 of these quarterbacks. Shedeur Sanders certainly, and Cam Ward. Cam Ward has a schedule that's been very favorable. Certainly Shedeur now.
Hold on. We don't want no ads. Come on, ads. Let's get it through. But to that point, he talked about and what he's reading. What he was reading as far as going down the teams and what positions they are, that's currently what they are via the standings in the NFL. Now, that can ultimately change because I think my Raiders are going to continue to lose. And whether they continue to lose drastically or not, I think the Raiders are the team Shedeur ends up with in the draft, because I don't think Prime is going to allow, or even, and they're brash enough. They're not just going to allow him to play anywhere. In Cleveland, no. Carolina, no. The Giants, probably not. And Tennessee's interesting. I don't know if Will Levis stinks, but will they move off him directly? And will they win enough to not even be in the sweepstakes? Because if you're outside the top 3, you're going to miss out on both of these guys. I think both of these guys, meaning Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, are going to end up in the top 3 along with Travis. The three players going in the top 3 is going to be Shedeur, Cam Ward, and Travis. I don't know in which order, but those guys are going to be top 3 picks. I think you can, if you're a betting man, the top 3 picks in the 2025 NFL draft, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, those 3, I think that's a lock. But let's keep listening.
Last few weeks through the rest of the season are teams he should be able to handle, or they should be able to block up front, which will give him a chance to do what he does best, throw the football. And obviously from that pocket, make those decisions and process. So I think when you look at those 2, they won't be in the top 10 for rating, at least for me, Field. Can't speak for you, but they won't have a top 10 rating, but they're going to go in the top 10. They're going to probably go in the top 5. They're going to get forced up there. And people say, well, it's going to be a kind of year like Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis. No, it's not. It's not going to be Kenny Pickett, 20, and Malik.
Yeah, first of all, I don't know, guys. Let me know in the comments. Are there 10 players in college football better than Shedeur Sanders? Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm like, I'm not trying to be funny, and I'm not trying to meet right. Pause. I can't name you 10 players, and I'll give you Travis, Cam, but like he's saying 10 players, 10, 11 players better than Shedeur and Cam Ward. Just not 10 players in college football right now better than Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. I give you Travis. I give you Will Johnson at Michigan. He's the 2 tackles at LSU. I'm just throwing out names at this point. Travis, the wide receiver at Arizona, maybe. Let's go with the tackle at Texas, and let's go both the tackles at LSU. The tackle at Texas and both the tackles at LSU. Let's go the running back at Boise. He's undersized. I wouldn't put him up there, but I'm just being generous. Even then, that's only 6 players. Even then, that's only 6 players that I would even feel comfortable saying is, obviously I don't think all those players are better than Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. But like, I just gave you 6 names. I can't name you more than 6. I can't name you more than 6. that are draft eligible, by the way, because the wide receiver, the kid at Bama is really good. The wide receiver at Ohio State's really good. But even then, even if you added them two, add those two as well. That's 8 players. Where are the 10 players? Because I'm looking at this. He's got Shedeur rated as the 11th prospect and Cam Ward the 12th. Who are the 10 guys above those two? Outside of Travis, Will Johnson at Michigan, the left tackle at freaking Texas, and he got killed this week, by the way. Or he got killed when they played Georgia. Dude had 3 sacks on him. Let's go to 2 tackles at LSU. Okay, and I don't even believe that. The wide receiver at Arizona, he didn't show up even when they played Colorado. But sure, let's just for shits and giggles, let's just put it out there. And I still can't name 10 players in the country, regardless of class, but especially the ones that are draft eligible, better than these guys. And then even to compare this draft to the Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, okay, stop it. If Shedeur and Cam Ward were in that draft, they'd have went number 1 and number 2 overall. The first quarterback in that draft, Kenny Pickett, a bust. He got benched. He went number 20. Malik Willis went in the 3rd round. Stop it. That was a terrible draft class, by the way.
Willis going 3rd round behind Ritter. This is going to be a year where these guys are going to go way up there because we have all those teams in the top 10 needing a quarterback. And Sanders and Ward have ability. Now, the key is how quickly can they show they can be great? And this is the problem.
They don't just have ability. I think these are 2 really good players. Like, just to say, oh, they have ability. Yeah, well, duh. If you watch college football, you know they have ability. These are 2 really good players. Like they're not soup sandwiches. Like Cam and Shedeur are the truth. Shedeur has productivity, high-level productivity. Now, you can say whatever you want about Jackson State, but the dude was a dog at Jackson State. And he had high-level productivity at JSU. And then he came to Colorado and immediately hit the ground running. His first game ever at CU against a team ended up being trash, but they were a Power 4, Power 5 team. He had 500 yards passing. And he just continued that this year, getting a Colorado team that was picked to finish towards the bottom of the Big 12 to 6-2 up until this point. And a lot of people feel like they can run the table the rest of the way and win 10 games. Like, that's saying a lot. Cam Ward immediately gets to Miami and is undefeated. So, you know.
Problem in the NFL right now. When you watch these games and people say, well, he didn't do this, he didn't do that, he didn't make that throw. And you're asking decent to good to be great. And when that doesn't happen, they stink. So we don't sit with decent to good and say they're decent to good when they don't play to the level of the elite or make those.
Talking about the quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't know. So, and then he goes on, and I think this is an interesting comparison. You guys let me know how you feel about this. He goes on, Mel Kiper specifically, to compare Shedeur Sanders to Matt Ryan. And I don't hate that comparison. I don't hate it. Now, you can say whatever you want about Matt Ryan and losing the Super Bowl or whatever, but Matt Ryan threw for a ton of yards, made a few Pro Bowls, and won an NFL MVP, and made if I'm not mistaken, a couple of All-Pro teams. We can look it up really quick. What was Matt Ryan? Matt Ryan. It's a really good quarterback in the NFL for a long time. What was his career stats? He was a 4-time Pro Bowler, first team All-Pro, NFL MVP, an Offensive Player of the Year, and then NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's a pretty good pro career. Matt Ryan. It's not I don't hate that comparison. Now, obviously, Shedeur would want to accomplish more in his NFL career, but I don't hate that comparison. 4-time Pro Bowler, NFL League MVP, went to a Super Bowl, should have won a Super Bowl, and maybe we think about Matt Ryan differently if he wins that Super Bowl. I don't at least as a prospect. Now, Matt Ryan went number 3 overall, by the way. As a prospect, I don't hate that comparison. I don't. Matt Ryan was extremely accurate, come out of more of a non-traditional school, Boston College. Shedeur, Colorado's had great history in the 90s and 80s and stuff, but more of a non-traditional school up until this point. For 20 years, they were a doormat of college football. Before Shedeur got there, they won 1 game. So it's a non-traditional school. I don't hate that comparison. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But Shedeur Sanders, clearly QB1, and I think clearly him and Cam Ward both go in the top 3 of the draft. Matt Ryan went number 3 overall, by the way. Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, and Travis Hunter will be the first 3 picks of this year's NFL draft. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below about what Field Yates and Mel Kiper had to say about Shedeur Sanders, and the fact that he is clear and cut. I think he's clearing away, established himself as QB1 in this upcoming 2024 NFL draft. My name is Jeff Lightsy Jr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show on Jeff Lightsy Jr. YouTube, Facebook, wherever he gets content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell. Also, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JLightsy7. That is on X and Instagram at JLightsy7. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you next time. Peace.